What's up, you guys? We're with the latest news on your $2,000 fourth stimulus check update, as well as recurring stimulus check update and daily news report. Senator Joe Manchin is on the move again. Comment below if you are tired of me saying Joe Manchin's name. And if you do, I feel you. I'm not mad at you. I'm just reporting the news. But in all seriousness, he is now seeking to slow down the $3.5 trillion stimulus bill as Democrats move forward with the legislation in a very critical phase. Really big update to provide you guys today. And once again, he's moving to oppose his party, and he seems to be pretty relentless here. Next up, according to Nancy Pelosi herself, the House must pass 3 major pieces of spending legislation this week. They have a lot on their agenda here, so we might be in for some huge updates this week. According to a recent report, Democrats are sick of dealing with this debt ceiling and regularly staving off economic catastrophe. So here's your daily update on the reconciliation bill, aka the stimulus bill that is due for a vote in Congress very soon. Now, we have some very surprising but not so surprising news for today, if you get what I mean. Senator Joe Manchin is on the move again, and he's now seeking to slow down the $3.5 trillion stimulus bill as Democrats move forward with the legislation in a critical phase. Yeah, he's back at it again. Really, how many moves does he have prepared to oppose his party's agenda? But all kidding aside here, let's get to the details. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia on Thursday insisted that there is no timeline for the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill, a stance that threatens the momentum that President Joe Biden and party leaders have sought to build as they push for votes on the legislation next week. Biden and Democratic leaders angling for passage of the gargantuan reconciliation package that would provide critical investments in healthcare, childcare, and climate initiatives have pleaded with moderate holdouts to identify a figure that could possibly attract their support for the bill. Now, at this point, our daily news feels like it's missing something if there's no news about Joe Manchin. Here he is opposing the party again. But what exactly does he mean by no timeline? Perhaps he thinks that now isn't the right time to push for the stimulus bill. If so, we can see that he doesn't share the same sense of urgency as his colleagues, which only means trouble for the Democrats. Democratic leaders have indeed pleaded with their moderates to change their minds and work together. President Biden is even involved in this right now. In fact, he hosted a meeting very recently to hear the opinions of numerous Democrats, both moderates and from progressives. The White House described that meeting as productive, and they reported that Biden asked moderates to give him a price tag that they can start working on. Well, no price tag from the moderates has been revealed yet, but Joe Manchin has said before that he's only willing to get behind a $1.5 trillion stimulus bill at the most. While many of Manchin's colleagues are hoping that the influential senator will point out what he'd like to see cut from the bill, he's in no rush to take such action, as he feels that funding for spending programs is sufficient to last through the end of the year. What's the need? There is no timeline. I want to understand it, Manchin expressed in an interview with Politico. I don't think anything runs out. Right now, we've got nutrition for children. A lot of things are covered right now, clear into next year. Maybe it's futile to think and hope that Joe Manchin would actually cooperate at this point. But the Democrats cannot just give up because they need his vote. Manchin's point that he's been pushing here is that there is apparently enough funding for spending programs to last through the end of the year. Now, whether he's right or wrong about that statement, I feel that he's downplaying the need for this bill. Now, with the fight against still ongoing, the stimulus bill is one of the Democrats' solutions to help the people. Also, they're aiming to make long-term changes with this stimulus bill, not just short-sighted ventures. The Democrats have to make Joe Manchin understand that if they want to get him to come to their side. After all, at $3.5 trillion, this stimulus bill is set to be the most extensive stimulus package to date. Democrats want to include several provisions here, including the Medicare expansion, free community college, universal pre-K, and an extension of child tax credits. They also want to lower drug prices. They want to include the $200 Social Security raises and so much more. They put a lot into this package, so they're not going to be backing down so easily. There are also talks about a fourth stimulus check and monthly recurring payments to be included in the stimulus bill, but nothing has completely materialized just yet. I know that's what we're all watching out for, but we just have to remain patient and wait for the news on that one to break. With a massive budget at $3.5 trillion, chances are definitely not zero for the next round of stimulus checks. The senator's statement makes it extraordinarily difficult to foresee a reconciliation deal being put together ahead of a House vote on the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package, which could come as soon as September 27th, a self-imposed deadline that was set last month after the successful passage of the bipartisan bill that easily passed in the Senate. In the evenly divided Senate, Democrats need every member to be on board for the reconciliation package to pass. And Manchin, along with fellow moderate Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, wield incredible influence over the bill, which is slated to include tax increases on the wealthy and tuition-free community college, among many other items. Yes, once again, Joe Manchin continues to make things extra difficult for the stimulus bill. Remember, the Democrats are passing the stimulus bill through the reconciliation process where they only have to worry about getting Democratic votes. For the Senate, they cannot afford to lose even a single vote. That's a very tough condition to meet. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are the two most notable senators who are currently against the stimulus bill, at least from the Democratic standpoint. Now, with the way that this process is set up with its conditions, the opposition gets much influence and power. Now, the question is this: will the progressives persuade the moderates in time? Now, the House agreed on a September 27th deadline to vote on this infrastructure bill. The deal was that they would actually vote on both bills at the same time. Now, with the date coming very soon, Democrats are now scrambling to kind of get many things done with this stimulus bill. Now, in the case that the infrastructure bill is voted on while the stimulus bill isn't ready yet, progressives have said that they're prepared to vote against the bill. By doing so, it will give enough for the stimulus bill to be finalized. At this point, I really can't clearly predict what's going to happen because there's just way too many factors and variables at play here. But let's continue. Despite Manchin's continued skepticism of the reconciliation bill, Democrats are confident that he will join them in passing the legislation, just like he did with the $1.9 trillion relief package that passed along party lines. None of us like artificial deadlines, and he doesn't make a decision before he needs to. This comes according to Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. He told Politico this: "When we need him, he's there. And I would be surprised if that were any different this time. Perhaps the Democrats know something we don't hear. They can't just be saying that they're confident on Joe Manchin without any basis, right? History indeed does show that Joe Manchin votes with his party when it all comes down to it. Maybe he's just playing hard to get here. Whatever the case may be, they cannot afford to waste more time here. This whole stimulus bill dilemma is a race against time, so they got to move forward with this ASAP. But what do you guys think about all this? It's coming down to the wire, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Up next, here's an update from Nancy Pelosi regarding the Democrats' plan for this week. As we all know, they have a lot on their plate right now. So according to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi herself, the House must pass 3 major pieces of spending legislation this week. That just makes this week one of the most important weeks yet. Now let's go and find out the details on this. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in a letter to Democrats on Saturday that the coming week will be a time of intensity as party leadership aims to take action on 3 major pieces of spending legislation in the days ahead. This week, we must pass a continuing resolution, Build Back Better Act, and the BIF, according to Pelosi. The speaker wrote in Saturday afternoon that September 30th is a date fraught with meaning. The day marks the end of the fiscal year, after which the federal government is scheduled to run out of money if lawmakers fail to pass a continuing resolution to avert a shutdown. The upcoming week will undoubtedly be a critical turning point for many of the Democrats' agendas. This month has really been full of twists and turns, and now we are due for a grand ending. The infrastructure bill will be voted on. Now, whether Congress will include the stimulus bill remains to be seen. There's also the issue of the debt ceiling, which the administration has to address soon. I actually have a very huge update on that one that we're going to cover later today, so definitely stay tuned. Although Nancy Pelosi is calling and leading her members here with this letter, tensions inside the party remain very high. Progressives fear that moderates will not give the reconciliation bill the attention that it deserves due to the possibility of the infrastructure bill passing first. Now, the good thing, though, is that they have a plan for this. House progressives have threatened to vote against the bipartisan deal unless the larger package receives a vote first. This is concerned about how many of the popular social spending items in the reconciliation bill would fare with their moderate colleagues if the smaller plan was already passed. It's unclear whether the bipartisan infrastructure deal will have necessary votes to pass the lower chamber on Monday, as House GOP leaders have called on their party members to vote against the plan in opposition to the larger package that had been advanced by Democrats. The progressives' concern is valid. It's really highly likely that the moderates will set the stimulus bill aside if the infrastructure bill is voted on first. Progressives understand this, so they're coming prepared. Now, to make matters worse, Republicans, being the way that they are now, they remain. Remember, the infrastructure bill is a bipartisan matter as both parties support it. Now, with the Republicans being, will the bill garner enough votes from them to be able to move forward? The Democrats will certainly be going all in on this one, but we really can't say the same for Republicans. Now, as Nancy Pelosi said, the upcoming week will be a time of intensity. We're due for a grand ending here, and I wonder how all this is going to go down. What's your bet on the results, guys? A lot is at stake here. If things don't go well, expect everything to be delayed. Drop me a comment down below, guys. Let's discuss this one. All right, guys, last but not least, here's your update on the U.S. debt ceiling and what the administration is planning to address it. According to a recent report, Democrats are sick of dealing with the debt ceiling and regularly staving off economic catastrophe. One senator even said, "We should get rid of it." Whoa, that sounds like pretty big news to me. The usual action here is to just raise it or suspend the ceiling, but now there's a lot of talks about removing it. Let's find out more about this right here. Almost every year, Congress fights over a silly rule that we make up for us. Representative Bill Foster of Illinois told Insider. Everyone is completely fatigued with this issue, and those who have been in Congress a long time are probably more fatigued than anyone else. He's talking about the debt ceiling, or the limit on how much the U.S. can borrow to cover spending it's already done. Every time the government reaches that limit, Congress must vote to extend it. This sounds like a new take on this whole debt ceiling issue, but he might have a valid point here. Congress always votes to raise or suspend the limit anyway, so why stress themselves about doing the same thing that they do every single year anyway? Perhaps that's why he thinks that as the U.S. hurdles toward a mid-October deadline, they're haggling once again, split straight down party lines with Republicans refusing to help Democrats find a solution despite catastrophic stakes for the U.S. economy. Senators Mark Warren of Virginia and Chris Murphy of Connecticut both told Insider this should go. Warner said he believes there's support for it on both sides of the aisle. The current situation with the Republicans is making this topic resurface. Congress must be tired of facing this annually and deal with the ensuing debates from the opposition when they know the end game anyway. It's actually surprising that there's support from both sides. Maybe they will craft legislation that will actually remove the limit altogether now. It's important to note that one benefit of removing the debt limit is removing the threat of default from our economy as well. That seems like a win to me. At the end of the day, Democrats and Republicans are still most comfortable telling the other side what to do. But where Republicans are leaving their counterparts to dodge recession on their own, Democrats are holding out hope for a permanent bipartisan solution. There's a lot of private enthusiasm among my Republican colleagues to the ceiling, Representative Foster said. One could probably find members of both parties, maybe even Leader McConnell, that would say this tool ought to be eliminated, Senator Warren told Insider. The idea of the debt limit has been growing in popularity in the last couple of years. Some Senate Democrats did introduce a bill last May 2019, which received recent attention last May a few months ago. Their reasoning states that the limit has become a tool for leverage, so it's time they change it. They do have a point there, though. As it stands now, the Democrats are still hoping for a bipartisan solution to this. Of course, this typically has been a bipartisan affair. However, the limit isn't only an idea from the Democrats, but from the Republicans as well. Senator Warren has even said that one could find members from both parties to support this thing. That may be true, but could there be enough votes to actually push this thing through? If Mitch McConnell suddenly says that he wants to limit, I'm willing to bet that many Republicans would instantly be on board. What do you guys think about this, though? This issue on the debt limit has been going on for quite some time now. The time to act is now, and the consequences are dire and they're damaging if we fail to do anything. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So anyway, guys, that's all for the news on your fourth stimulus check update. Recurring stimulus check update. Senator Joe Manchin once again moving to slow down the stimulus bill. We covered Nancy Pelosi saying that there are 3 major legislations to pass this week, and Democrats reportedly being sick and tired of dealing with the debt ceiling, so there are now calls to get rid of it altogether. Hit me up in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you guys. If you haven't already, do like this video. Also subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified as soon as I release new videos and updates. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care and be safe.